1 in every 7 people alive today carries something in their blood that doesn't exist in any other primate on Earth. Scientists call it a mutation. Esotericists call them a reserve gene pool. Neither side can fully explain why nature kept it for 40,000 years. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, our closest relatives on the evolutionary tree. Every single one of them carries a specific protein on the surface of their red blood cells, antigen D, the Rh factor. 85% of humans carry it too, but the remaining 15%, 1 in every 7 people around you, don't. Not a damaged version, not a weakened copy. The gene responsible for producing this protein is simply absent. An entire segment of chromosome gone, as if a page was torn from the book before anyone could read it. 40,000 years ago, somewhere in Europe, a human being was born with this deletion. That person survived, had children, and today, 1 in 7 people on this planet carries that same absence in every cell of their body. The mechanics are well understood. The reason it survived is not. Here is the problem evolution should have solved. When a woman with Rh negative blood carries a child who inherits Rh positive blood from the father, her immune system can recognize the child's blood cells as foreign. It begins producing antibodies. It attacks. Before modern medicine, this frequently ended in the death of the child, sometimes the mother. Nature built a mechanism into 15% of humanity that works against their own reproduction. In evolutionary terms, that kind of disadvantage disappears within a few thousand years. The population carrying it shrinks, the trait fades, and eventually, it's gone. Rh negative blood did not disappear. 40,000 years, still here. Something was compensating for the cost. The scientific explanation points to a phenomenon called the founder effect. Imagine a small group of people, isolated from the rest of humanity by mountains or sea. A few individuals among them carried the deletion. Generation after generation, they reproduced only with each other. The trait spread through the population simply because there was no one else to dilute it. When isolation ended, the carriers were numerous enough to persist in the wider gene pool. No design, no purpose, geography and chance. There is one people on Earth who tested this theory to its absolute limit: the Basques. They live in the mountains straddling northern Spain and southwestern France. For roughly 3,000 years, they resisted absorption into every surrounding civilization: the Romans, the Visigoths, the Moors, the Franks. The result is extraordinary. Among Basques, the frequency of Rh negative blood reaches 30 to 35%, more than double the European average, more than triple the global one. But the blood is only one of 3 anomalies. The Basque language, Euskara, has no known relatives anywhere on Earth. It belongs to no language family. Linguists have searched for connections for centuries and found nothing. Genetically, the Basques also stand apart from their neighbors in ways that took decades of research to explain. 3 separate anomalies in one people: language, genetics, blood. Science explained all 3 with a single word: isolation. They closed themselves off. They didn't mix. Rare traits accumulated. Logical, coherent, and almost entirely true. Almost. Because isolation, concentration. It doesn't explain survival. A small isolated population with a reproductive disadvantage built into 15% of its members should lose that trait faster, not accumulate it. Something gave Rh negative carriers enough of an advantage to keep the trait alive across thousands of generations, even as it complicated their reproduction. This is precisely where 2 very different answers began? The scientific answer is honest about its incompleteness. Studies conducted over the past 2 decades have confirmed that Rh-positive and Rh-negative people differ in measurable ways beyond blood type. Resistance to certain viral infections is higher in Rh-negative individuals. Susceptibility to some bacterial infections is also higher. Aging patterns differ. Responses to certain medications differ. The immune system in people without the Rhd protein operates by different rules. Not inferior rules, different ones. Optimized, it appears, for conditions that remain unclear. Then there is the parasite. Toxoplasma gondii is a single-celled organism carried primarily by cats. In developed European countries, between 20 and 70% of the population carries it. Most never know. The parasite lives quietly, causes no obvious symptoms, and goes undetected for years. But it is not entirely passive. Research has consistently shown that toxoplasma subtly alters the behavior of its host, affecting reaction times, risk perception, and decision-making in ways too small to notice individually, but measurable in aggregate. The Rhd protein appears to buffer this influence. People with Rh-positive blood who carry a hidden toxoplasma infection show relatively contained behavioral effects. People with Rh-negative blood who carry the same infection show something different. Studies have recorded a 6-fold increase in traffic accidents among Rh-negative individuals with latent toxoplasmosis compared to Rh-positive carriers of the same parasite. 6 times. The protein that 15% of humanity lacks is doing something protective. Exactly what remains, in the careful language of published research, not yet fully understood. Which is the scientific way of saying, we know it matters, we don't know why. Esotericists have never had trouble filling that gap. The theories are numerous and vary in their specifics, but they share a common architecture. These people are different by design, not by accident. Earth has experienced catastrophic resets before, civilizations erased, populations collapsed, the accumulated knowledge of ages lost. Each time something survived to begin again. The Rh-negative population in this framework is the reserve, a genetically distinct group maintained across millennia, carrying different biological parameters suited to different conditions. When the current version of humanity exhausts itself, they remain. The reserve gene pool, the blood of the gods, the starseed population. The language varies. The underlying claim is the same. These people are here for a reason that conventional biology hasn't named yet. It would be easy to dismiss this entirely, but consider what the dismissal requires. It requires assuming that a reproductive disadvantage persisted for 40,000 years purely by chance, that the measurable immune differences carry no adaptive significance, that the 6-fold differential in parasite susceptibility is a curiosity without a function. Science does not actually claim any of these things. It acknowledges the gaps. It simply declines to fill them with anything it cannot measure. There is a story from the 1940s that illuminates something important about how we think about blood. Arthur Morant was a British geneticist working on the global distribution of blood types. He discovered that the Basques had an unusually high frequency of Rh-negative blood, far higher than any surrounding population. He proposed that this, combined with the uniqueness of their language, suggested the Basques were descendants of the original pre-agricultural Europeans, a relic people carrying relic blood from before the Great Migrations reshaped the continent. At the same time, 2 Basque political exiles were in London attempting to form a government in exile and build the case for international recognition of Basque distinctiveness. They heard about Morant. They approached him. They helped organize blood sample collection. They provided the political infrastructure that allowed the research to move forward. Morant did not fabricate his data. The frequencies he measured were real. But the interpretation, the leap from unusual blood distribution to ancient origins and special status, carried the unmistakable weight of people who needed the conclusion to be true. Later, DNA analysis told a different story. The Basques are not the oldest people in Europe. They are descendants of early farmers who arrived from the Near East approximately 7,500 years ago, and then, crucially, stopped absorbing outside influence.
Their language is ancient not because they are older than everyone else, but because they refused to borrow from anyone. Their Rh-negative frequency is high, not because of primordial origins, but because of 3,000 years of closed doors. The story of Morant and the Basque exiles reveals something that runs through every version of the Rh-negative mystery, scientific and esoteric alike. Human beings want blood to mean something. We want it to carry ancestry, destiny, difference, purpose. We have always wanted this. The form the wanting takes changes with the century. The wanting itself does not. Perhaps because there is something genuinely there. 15% of humanity carries a measurable biological difference at the level of the blood. Their immune systems operate differently. Their relationship with certain parasites is different. Their bodies process the world through slightly different parameters. This is not mythology. This is documented medicine.
The explanation for why these differences exist and what advantage they once conferred remains, after decades of research, incomplete. The reserve gene pool, say the esotericists, a random mutation preserved by geographic isolation, says science. Both answers are true as far as they go. Neither goes far enough. And somewhere in that gap, 1 in every 7 people moves through their day carrying an absence in their chromosomes that has survived 40,000 years of human history. Nature created it. Nature kept it. Whatever it cost, whatever it gave in return, nature decided the exchange was worth it. We are still working out the terms.